Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. This week we are going to continue working in Module 7 and looking at square roots and exponents more. So in today's lesson, I am going to talk to you about how we solve equations using roots. And we're going to go more in depth on the fact that exponents and roots are inverses of each other. Therefore, we use them to solve equations. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one to show you what I mean. So we have number one is x squared equals 169. Let me get a pen going here. I'll rewrite that over here. And if I ever use a color you guys are having trouble seeing, please let me know so I know to avoid that in the future. So x squared equals 169. So remember, when we're trying to solve an equation, we're trying to get to a point where I have the variable isolated or by itself. So typically it's the cases of the variable equals a number. Here, the only thing attached to our variable is an exponent. So that's not something you've tried to solve an equation that had before. So we need to make sure we understand how to take the inverse of this. So if I need to get rid of an exponent, I need to take the same kind of root. So if my x is being squared, I will take a square root of both sides. Because remember, when you do something to one side of the equation, you have to do it to the other to keep it balanced. That's our properties of equality there. So I'm going to rewrite this first step here as x squared equals the square root of 169. So I'm hoping you guys made your chart of perfect squares, and I recommended you made that from 1 through 20. That way you guys can start being able to recognize these pretty easy, because I can recognize this because I have it memorized. I know that 13 times 13 equals 169. So when I take the square root of 169, I will get 13. Now, if you don't have those memorized yet, feel free to use your calculator to help you out. So 13 is equal to, now on the left side, this is what I want to bring up again. When I have a square root sign and a 2 as an exponent, these will cancel out. And all that will be left is x. Now, technically, there would be two answers here, because negative 13 times negative 13 also equals 169. But I'm going to overlook that for now, and we're just going to focus on the positive answers for the time being, just to keep it simpler for now. So my answer here would be x equals 13. So the first step over here, it wanted us to write what the first step was in solving, and that was taking the square root of both sides. I'm just going to write taking root. Oh, sorry. And then we'll take a look at part B. Part B said to solve the equation and check your answer. So in order to check our answer, in case you guys forgot what that means we take our value for the variable, we plug it back in, and see if we get the same answer on both sides. So I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to do it over here, save space. So instead of having x squared equals 169, I'm going to write 13 squared equals 169. And I do know this to be true, because 13 times 13 is equal to 169. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 2 now. Scroll us down. So on number 2, we have a square-shaped park has an area of 324 feet. What are the dimensions of the park? Write and solve an equation. So first thing I want to point out here, I'm going to go ahead and clear ink, guys. So I want to point out the fact that a square has all sides the same length. One moment. Oh, sorry, dog drama. Okay. As I was saying, a square has all sides exactly the same length. So if I know that its area is 324 feet squared, in order to find the dimensions, I am going to have to set up an equation where I can work backwards to find the length of one side. Because if I find the length of one side, I find the length of all the sides. So I am going, I'm actually going to change colors here real quick. I'm going to set up this equation. So x squared equals 324. So the reason I'm setting it up as x squared equals 324 is that, remember, when you're finding the area of a square, you just do the side times the side, which can also be rewritten as x squared, because if x is representing one side. So from here, I want to be able to solve this. So it's going to work exactly the same way. We are going to take the square root of both sides to find the length of a side. So the square root of 324 is what we are looking for. And if I take the square root of 324, that gives me 18. So I would have that x is equal to 18. Now remember, we were working with a real world number here, so let's go back and put an answer that actually makes sense. It said, what are the dimensions of the park? So it's 18 feet by 18 feet. I don't know if you guys have written dimensions very much before, but we put an X in between to show it's to mean the word by. So I have 18 feet by 18 feet. Y'all, I'm very sorry. My dog's being super dramatic right now. He thinks if I'm not giving him attention that the world's over. All right, so that's my answer number 2. And now I'm going to leave number 3 for you guys to do on your own. So let's skip that one. I want to go down and take a look at one of these that's talking about a different kind of exponent. So instead of having a 2, this time we have a 3. So let's take a look at number 4. Number 4 says a cube has a volume of 27 inches cubed. Remember, that's what we say whenever we have an exponent of 3. What is the measure of one of its sides? Write and solve an equation. So cube, remember, in case you forgot, that is a 3-dimensional object where all of its dimensions are exactly the same. Every side of the cube or the box, however you'd like to think of it, is always the same size. So a formula we can use to find the volume of a cube is s cubed, or the length of one side times itself 3 times. So raised to the 3rd power. And in this case, I know that is equal to 27. So here, I want to try to solve this. So you might be thinking, okay, we'll just do the same thing we did in the other problems. We'll take the square root of both sides, and that'll give us the answer. But that is not simply correct. So the square root is not the inverse of cubing. A square root is the inverse of squaring. So in order to take the inverse of this on both sides, we're going to have to do what's called taking a cube root. So in the index here, we're going to put a 3 in the gap there between your image. So when I take the cube root, I am going to get an answer of s is equal to 3. Now that one might be a little confusing to you since you haven't really thought of it in those terms before, but let's check ourselves to see if we're right. So if you do in your calculator 3 times 3 times 3, that is going to equal 27 because you have 3 times 3 is 9, 9 times 3 is 27. So when you take the cube root of a number, what you're asking yourself is what number times itself 3 times would equal 27. Now, if you guys have any trouble trying to figure out how to type in a cube root or a square root on your calculator or your phone, whatever you're using to help you on when you're doing your work, please let me know and I can assist you with that and try to help you figure out how to work it on your device. So please contact me if you need help with that. I'm going to leave 5 and 6 for you guys to answer on your own. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this lesson. So we're going to keep working with more roots on Thursday. That's when I'm going to post the next video for you guys to watch. We'll be going through that second page that I sent you guys yesterday. All right, you guys have a good rest of your day. I hope you guys are doing well. All right, bye-bye.